Talking tips. Talking tips is going to help provide a very structured tool and way to let the other person know a little bit about how we feel about a subject, about a behavior, about anything. Not only is it letting the other person know about it, it's also allowing us to be sort of detectives on our own behalf, where we are seeking answers within ourselves as to why we feel that way, where this comes from, what it reminds us of. But as we get there and as we learn these tools to confide and be vulnerable and also be present for the other person, we have to get a few things beforehand. We got to get some information. So that's what we're going to start on. As we do talking tips, we have to remember that sometimes it's just the way we respond that stifles somebody from ever speaking to us again about a subject, that gets people to censor themselves. So we're going to start with talking tips. And where we start is good talking. We're going to go over each of these for our participants. We have direct. Talking is direct. We don't beat around the bush. We don't paint a snowy picture of it. We let people know pretty directly what we mean and what we're trying to say. So be straight, don't drop hints, don't have people guessing. It doesn't mean, and you're going to see it further along, it doesn't mean that we can just be blunt or not tactful about it, but it means that we're not keeping people guessing. Along the same lines, good talking is clear. I'm clearly saying what I need to say. I'm not making it a guessing game. I'm not sort of hiding things. I'm getting everything out in the open and making sure, as I want to, in order to have good communication, that the other person understands what I'm saying. Being specific. Being specific is really important. If I start exaggerating or if I start bringing in everything in the kitchen sink, it's going to be very difficult for somebody to keep up with me if I'm jumping all around, the history of the complaints that I can make or the stories that I remember. So we stick to one thing at a time when we're doing good talking. And so then that's specific. Honest. Please feel free to bring this out to your participants. Ask them, what does honest mean? So even though the definitions aren't right on this PowerPoint, you can say, in good talking, what do you think that honest means? You're definitely going to have people that understand that they can bring their voice up and share with the classroom so that it's still experiential. And they would say, saying the truth. If we're saying lies or making up stories or fantasies, it's not good talking. We're not really getting good communication going. And for your message to do the most good, it needs to be as honest as possible and as genuine as possible. And lastly, you have tactful. Again, bring it out to your participants. The definition doesn't need to be there. What does tactful mean? Many people can say, there's so many people that say, all right, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. We don't mean to be brutally honest with somebody. We should always take into account that there's feelings behind the person that you're speaking with. And we should always be tactful. We don't need to be aggressive about what we're trying to express to the point that it could hurt somebody's feelings. So we're always mindful of that, and we're tactful in our delivery. That's good talking. Now we have good listening. And you can go ahead and get it out to the participants. What does anybody think active listening means? You can have many people who say, it's about being a part of it. Nodding while they're saying something, showing, expressing that you're listening to them. You can say yes while they're saying it. You can say, yeah, I get it. You're making eye contact. You're part of it with them. Open. Good listening means that you're giving the person the freedom to speak. You're open to listening to them. Sometimes we're so quick to jump in if we don't agree with somebody. And we want to stop them because we think that listening to their full story means that somehow we agree with them. It doesn't mean that we agree with them. But it means we're giving them the space to go ahead and speak their truths. Sometimes you'd be really surprised. Sometimes we cut people off and we would have never expected to know what they were really going to say. So being open to hear what your partner wants to share with you, or your child, or your best friend, or your parent, or your role model, or your caretaker, or a coworker for that matter. But as we speak about intimate relationships and your partner, yeah, absolutely. Being open to just hearing what comes out of them, their thoughts, their whatever it is that they're saying. Being attentive is the next one. Open it up to the group. What does attentive mean in good listening? Attentive means that I'm paying attention, right? I'm not fidgeting on my phone. I'm not thinking about other things. So maybe I'm supposedly paying attention. I'm looking at you. I might even be nodding. But if I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next, I'm not really listening. If I'm thinking about anything else, I'm not being attentive to what they're saying. So it means to be all in. Concentrate on what they're saying. Make sure you understand what they're saying. And it's very lucky to be able to give that gift of true listening to somebody. There's many feelings that come from feeling unheard, and they're generally not pleasant. So to be able to do that for somebody is very lucky. And sometimes it is going through every single one of these with the participants in front of you, or with the people who will be instructors. Because even though we think we know it, we want to do one by one. We want to say that we are our own detectives. That when we're listening, are we doing all these things? Are we waiting to think about what we're going to say instead of thinking about it while they're speaking to us? Are we being careful? What does careful mean? If I miss something, I want to say I missed it. I truly missed it, and it could have been so important. So I'm going to ask them, what was it that you said? I'm going to make sure that we understand each other, that we have that shared meaning. And respectful, right? We always want to show the other person respect. One, by giving them the attention. Two, by having, the empathy. By being in there with them and not making them feel belittled for communicating with us. So, empathic listening. Somebody, go ahead and please read that. And you can read it out loud. So we have 1. Listener's job is to try to understand and to show caring for the speaker's feelings. A lot of the Pairs Essentials, just like we saw in the definition of compassion, is that expression of. It's really important to let that partner know that you're really showing this care. 2, the listener will repeat back what the speaker says. And something really important that we're going to see moving forward is that the listener is going to repeat back exactly what the speaker says. Right? And that's going to be really important to be able to know that we have a shared meaning, that you really heard me. Because sometimes our brains start hearing all types of things. Right? Our brains start exaggerating what we heard or combining it with other experiences. But we get it right when we do this empathic listening. We get it right when we repeat back and we're hearing what they have to say. And 3, of course, if they get it right, the speaker thanks the listener for listening and shows signs of appreciation. And that could be a thank you, a nod, a squeeze of the hand, a hug, whatever that looks like for the person and the couple and the partnership. So the listening results, it's a gift to your partner. One very important line in this section is that line that you see at the very bottom of the PowerPoint. How we listen to others impacts their willingness to confide. If we really want to be that person that our partner can confide in, knowing how to listen and create that safe space for them is really, really important. And having that gift for ourselves where we feel comfortable and safe and to be vulnerable and to confide to our partner is very, very special. We don't feel like that with everybody all the time. But to have a safe space to sort of be unmasked, to be open about our emotions and our feelings, it's critical to feeling comfort. So we affirm the speaker for confiding. You saw that earlier. We validate that the speaker has their perspective. We empathize with their experience. All of these things are really important. They're a gift, and these are the results. So you want to make sure that everybody has their wallet cards. We try not to hand them out early so that people aren't fidgeting and trying to figure out what's happening next, but instead they're paying attention to you and attention to what exercises are coming next and what the dynamics and what they're trying to create with their partner. So for the talking tips, we're going to make sure that we're calling out to the audience and asking for somebody to assist us in role modeling it for everybody. You can do that ahead of time. You can see an extroverted couple or somebody you can see would like to be a part of it. You can always approach them in between the breaks and ask them, would you teach this, help me teach this portion of the class later? Or you can just ask for a volunteer couple, which generally works really well as long as you're very engaged with your audience. So you call the couple up and you have the two chairs together so that they're facing each other. And for you yourself, and I'll say this every single time that we're preparing for an exercise, for you yourself as the instructor, you're going to want to pull up a chair. We're going to want to make sure that we're role modeling leveling at all times. We ourselves are not speaking over people, standing next to them and showing them how to do this talking tips exercise or anything of the sort. So go ahead and pull up a chair. Though they're going to be sitting facing each other, you'll be a little bit behind them, making sure to assist them as necessary as they role model the exercise and as you teach the exercise to the group. So with the wallet cards and the couple coming up, you're going to have to start letting them know what the circumstances are, right? Instead of saying rules, but you want to make sure to let them know that they should have 15 minutes at least set aside that they can have just to do this exercise and to concentrate on the exercise. Obviously, if they have to pick up somebody or they have to leave soon or they're going to have a phone call soon, it would not be the right time. But that's all taken care of in the invitation because they will be asking first and making sure that that's the right time for their partner. You want to make sure to let them know as we respond to any of these questions in the talking tips exercises that they should be short responses because we want to make sure that our partner can repeat it back to us, whether they summarize it or they parrot it back. When they say, I noticed you slammed the front door the other day, that partner should be able to say, you noticed I slammed the front door the other day. So they would just repeat it back or paraphrase it, and the speaker in the talking tips exercise would be able to say thank you if it's correct. And if it's not correct, they would say, no, not exactly, let's try it again. And they'd say the sentence again and try it all over again. It's 10 steps, 10 sentence stems that start people off with I statements instead of you statements, which we spoke about just recently. And I think that's about it. So we go ahead and get them started, making sure that everybody's turning off their phone, and they ask the other person to be a part of this exercise. So they say, I would like to do the talking tips exercise with you to talk about something that happened the other day. The other person can say yes, no, I can't do it right now, but we can do it at another time. Again, though we spoke about this earlier, I just want to remind you because it's going to be important to remind them every single time that this is the process that we take to start each of these exercises throughout the whole Pairs Essentials, to remind them that if the answer is no, that's okay, but we're going to try to pick a time between the two within 24 hours. So we say no, but when? And then if they're ready to go, then they can go ahead and get started. So as you see, the 10 stems, sentence stems, starts with I notice. What they're going to do is pick one specific behavior. And of course, you'll give the modeling couple a little bit of time to go ahead and discuss it with themselves and approve that that is an okay topic for each of them to share. So let's just start with I notice. I notice that whenever I make phone calls, you grimace. You start making some faces. So the I notice is a very specific behavior. I assume this means, what we're talking about in that is you're going ahead and letting the other person know what you assume. I assume this means you don't like me to be on the line. I think. When you get to I think, it's about how you feel that it would help you. So I think speaking on the phone with my friends will help me be able to catch up with them and update them on my life and create bigger bonds. I am frustrated by is a sentence stem that gives you a time to let the other person know what frustrates you. I am frustrated by feeling as if I shouldn't be on a phone call with my friends because it doesn't sit well with you. I am hurt by is what hurts you about that. You know, I'm hurt by the fact that it feels uncomfortable for you, and therefore it feels uncomfortable for me. I worry about what worries you about not being, about this behavior. I worry about not catching up with friends and losing some of my friendships if I don't get to speak with them as often as I do. I want is asking for a specific request. So you're letting the person know what you would like from them that would be helpful. I want for you to not make faces during the time that I take calling my friends. Very specific, very direct. As we went through all the good talking and good listening skills, we want to make sure that we're not beating around the bush. We're really letting somebody know what we would like. I appreciate you for. Appreciate you for really reminds the other person that even though you have a complaint, you have many, many other things that you appreciate about them. I appreciate you for always being there when I get home. I appreciate you for paying the phone bill if you're a teenager and that's your mother. Whatever that might look like. I realize this is conveying to the other person how, you realize maybe something about their behavior. I realize that maybe you would like to spend more time with me. Maybe it's that. And then we get to I hope. I hope we can compromise on time on the phone and time together. Okay. And then we want to make sure that we are giving each other either an embrace, a handshake, or some form of appreciation. So we can say thank you and we hug. And throughout every single one of those stems, the other partner, as we spoke about at the beginning, repeats back what they said, and if it's correct, you say thank you. And honestly, what this Pairs Talking Tips does is allow you yourself to sort of be a detective on your own thoughts. What is it about this that it makes you feel? What is it about this that you assume what frustrates you, and you sort of go around the whole entire circle to get to a point that you realize a little bit about that person as well. You realize a little bit about yourself, what you worry about, or what it reminds you of from your past, and you get to hopes and dreams. So that's the Pairs Talking Tips in a nutshell. You bring it out to the audience. You say thank you very much to the modeling couple. You can debrief a little bit how it made them feel, and make sure that everybody goes ahead and breaks up into their partners, faces each other, starts with the invitation. Please put on that soft music and give them a little bit of the privacy so that they can start developing that little bubble of their relationship, even within a group setting. And as we discussed earlier, make sure that you're letting people know to remember to nod, engage, use the nonverbal cues to show their partners that not only are they listening and repeating back, but they're there with them. They're fully present. When it comes to the end and they do the appreciations, they could talk about the issue, they can reverse roles, or they can simply, do the appreciations and be happy for the new information, perspective, and understanding between each other. Please note that there is an app on the Pairs website for talking tips, and we also have the worksheets. So anybody can go on the website to do the Talking Tips app, or by hand doing it on the worksheet to practice ahead of time, something that they want to dissect and explore and discover, either with themselves or with a partner before they do it with their partner, or even just show it to somebody else so that they too can learn the 10-step process and can start learning it and using it.